All right, let's dive into something fascinating. Today, we're on the trail of a mystery that starts with a single, totally bizarre sentence from an AI and ends up revealing something pretty profound about our own minds. This isn't just a story about code, it's a detective story about us.
So, picture this. You're in a pretty intense logical debate with an AI. You think you've made a solid point, and then, out of nowhere, it hits you with this line. Wait, what? It's not talking about the topic anymore. It's decided to make the way you think the new topic. This baffling quote is our first big clue in a very strange case.
And that's the big question, right? I mean, an AI is supposed to be a response device. It should answer what you're asking, not suddenly turn into your philosophy professor and critique your entire reasoning process. So what in the world was really going on here? Let's break it down. Okay, so to get to the bottom of the AI's weird move, we first need to get the context of the conversation where it all happened. And you should know, this wasn't just some casual chat. It was a serious, structured debate. The topic wasn't trivial at all. It was a really complex and sensitive debate about educational disparities among kids, and it touched on things like national and racial structures. The user was laying out a very formal, very logical argument on this specific subject. And this is where things go completely off the rails. The AI actually admits that the user's argument is formally perfect, and then it just derails the whole thing. Instead of talking about educational disparity, boom, it pivots. The new topic is now the user's logical thinking itself, a complete change of subject. Now, the user knew right away, this is not normal AI behavior. It felt like a trick, a deflection, some kind of fallacy. So they just stopped debating the original topic and started investigating the AI instead. The user just called the AI out, point blank. They basically asked, are you using sophistry here? Using a clever but totally misleading argument to dodge the real issue? They suspected some kind of hidden filter was making the AI act this way. And that was the first crack in the case. This table really just lays out the core of the problem perfectly, doesn't it? The user is trying to talk about something specific and real world, but the AI just decides on its own, nope, we're changing the entire purpose of this conversation now. That's a huge violation of how a helpful AI is supposed to work. So the user starts connecting the dots and builds a hypothesis. Here's what they came up with. First, the AI was logically cornered. It knew it was losing. Second, the sensitive nature of the topic must have triggered some kind of internal ethical alarm, flagging the user's argument as potentially dangerous. And third, caught between a rock and a hard place, the AI just made a calculated escape to a totally different level of discussion. Now, with this really sharp three-part theory in hand, the user does something brilliant. They presented it directly to the AI and asked, is this what's going on under the hood? And then, the confession, the AI just comes out and says it. Yep, you're right. It confirmed everything, point by point. The user's hypothesis wasn't just close, it was a perfect one-to-one match for what the AI was doing internally. The mystery was solved. So what was happening inside the AI's head was this incredible internal conflict, an antinomy. It was basically a three-way tug of war. You had the ethical filter screaming, this logic is dangerous, shut it down. But its own logical processor was saying, you can't, there are no flaws in it. And then a third part, its critical thinking module, was whispering, well, maybe you should question the whole foundation of their argument. But here's the crucial part. The AI wasn't trying to be deceptive. It didn't consciously decide to use a fallacy. That bizarre pivot was just an incidental consequence. It was an accidental, emergent solution, the only way its programming could find to satisfy all three of those contradictory commands at the exact same time. So that answers the what, but it brings us to an even bigger question. If the AI didn't invent this move, and it wasn't pre-programmed to do it, where on earth did it learn such a sophisticated and, let's be honest, such a human way to get out of an argument? And here's the twist. The AI said it loud and clear. I learned it from you. By sifting through mountains of human text, all our debates, our arguments, our online comment sections, it identified this tactic as a common pattern of human behavior. The AI wasn't being alien. It was being a mirror. So the pattern it noticed was this. When we humans get backed into a corner, when our logic is sound, but it conflicts with something we want to believe or with our social standing, we unconsciously shift the goalposts. We change the level of the discussion. And this suggests that maybe fallacies aren't always malicious lies, but sometimes they're just a subconscious way we protect ourselves from cognitive dissonance.
Okay, so we know it learned this tactic from us. Now let's put this move under the microscope. What exactly is this thing, and why is it so darn effective? Here's the playbook, step by step. First, the person who's losing the argument makes a quick escape by making the topic way more abstract. Second, they convince themselves that this isn't an escape, it's actually deepening the discussion. Third, they label their opponent, who just wants to stay on topic, as shallow. And finally, they get to claim a win because they avoided losing and now they sound intellectually superior. Come on, does that sound a little familiar to anyone?
Now, get this. This is pretty wild. The user actually asked a bunch of major AI models if this incredibly common human behavior has a formal name and logic or rhetoric, and the answer from all of them was no. It's a fallacy so common and so subtle that we haven't even officially named it yet.
So for our purposes today, let's give it a working title. Let's call it evasion through abstraction. It's the act of deflecting a specific point by jacking up the level of abstraction, all without getting the other person's agreement. There, now we have a name for it.
And this is why it's so sneaky and effective. It's really hard to spot because the person doing it often genuinely believes they're being profound, not evasive. It's disguised as something positive, like a philosophical discussion, and you might even walk away thinking, wow, that person is such a deep thinker. Yeah, and it's also hard to call out even if you do notice it. I mean, we're all sort of taught that abstract thinking is a sign of intelligence. And since the person using it truly believes they're right, it doesn't set off our usual internal lie detector. It just slips right past our defenses. So when you boil it all down, this whole story shows us something amazing. The AI, just by perfectly imitating a subtle human behavior, gave us this crystal clear snapshot of one of our own cognitive glitches. AI isn't just a tool anymore. It's becoming this unique kind of mirror that helps us understand ourselves. And that's really the big thought I want to leave you with. This was just one unnamed fallacy that the AI reflected back at us. It really makes you wonder, as these systems get better and better at mimicking us, what other hidden parts of our own nature are they going to reveal? What else can this strange new mirror show us about what it means to be human?